So we're back talking about Soulmate Science, Volume 2. Soulmate Science. In Volume 1, we talked a little bit about um, relationships and marriage and dating and courting and temptation and all that wonderful stuff. By the way, I am Brandi L. Bates here with you. And on this episode, this volume, I am talking about some of the more taboo aspects of soulmate science. I want to touch on some of the things that we don't tend to hear about when we talk to the elders or when we talk to people who have been in it, who've been veterans in the game, and they don't always like to go there with you. So I'm going to try to go there the best I can. First, I think you should think about compatibility. I think that compatibility is everything in a relationship, especially a sexual relationship, an intimate relationship. All relationships, though, to an extent, require a certain amount of compatibility, whether that's living together, working together, any type of business dealings, any type of partnership that involves you and someone else is going to require a level of compatibility. And so what that essentially means is you can't be oil and water and expect it to last. You can't expect two incompatible individuals to be able to build anything on any type of firm ground, because they're always going to be at odds with one another. And so often when we get involved with someone, we don't have anyone around to tell us or teach us about compatibility, because they don't teach you about dating and relationships and how to make shit work with people. You don't learn that in school. And so we have to a lot of times learn it through the school of hard knocks. We learn through life, through hard times, through trials and headaches and just pain. Pain is an excellent teacher. Unfortunately, pain is one of the best and most effective teachers, because it's not about the grade, it's not about a test, it's not about a research paper. It's about, did you learn this damn lesson or not? For me, I hold astrology in high esteem, and I know, some people cringe at that. They think that astrology is such a pseudoscience, when in actuality, astrology is a very ancient practice, and some of the most influential and powerful people in history throughout the dawn of history have been heavily into the stars. The stars do not lie, is what I like to say. The stars do not lie. A great starter book to get you started with is Linda Goodman's Sun Signs. Linda Goodman's Sun Signs is an excellent book. It's like a pocket astrologer. It gives you a rundown of all of the different personality types based on when someone incarnated on this plane. So, for instance, you have different personality types associated with different signs. The different signs, all things being equal, okay? The different signs are either one of 4 elements: earth, water, fire, and air. So you have your earth signs, and you should know what your zodiac sign is, what your astrological sign is, depending on what month you were born. But you have your earth signs, you have your water signs, you have your fire signs, and you have your air signs, okay? And where compatibility comes in is, for instance, like oil and water do not mix, water and fire do not mix. So although you can try to make it work, if you are a fire sign and you are trying to be involved with someone who is a water sign, you're going to come up against tremendous flack. You're going to bump heads often. And although, again, it can work, I've seen it work, that has to do with a lot of other things going on in one's chart. So I don't want to go too deep into astrology, but I'm just making mention of that to say that's what I look at. One of the first things I look at, if two people are constantly at odds, but something is keeping them together, I look at what's going on in the stars in their chart, you know. But signs that are actually very compatible together, such as two earth signs can really hit it off. Two water signs can really hit it off. Whatever your element is, you're going to just mesh really well with your element because you understand your element, you know. That's just a universal law in the universe, is that like attracts like. And when it comes to magnets, yes, opposites attract, but long term they can't stay together like that when you're dealing with people and you're dealing with personalities. Earth and water is very compatible. So your earth signs, your Taurus, your Capricorns, your Virgos do really well with water signs. Your Cancers, Scorpios, and Pisces. Your fire and air do really well together. Your Leos, Sagittarius, Aries tend to do really well with your Aquarians, which I don't know why some people think Aquarians are water signs. They're not. It's air. But your Aquarians, your Librans or Libra, and your, again, there's other things that have a lot to do with your compatibility, but just understand that it does play a role. So I think that, you know, like, just like air signs go really well with other air signs, sometimes when you're bumping heads with someone, it pays to just take a good look at what's going on with your compatibility. In terms of soulmate science, I think we go through cycles. Whether you're dating someone, whether you're just living life and you're single, whether you're married, whether you're cheating, whatever, you go through cycles. People, I've said it before, are complex we are just complex walking contradictions. We contradict ourselves all the time. We all have hypocritical elements to us. We all have practiced one thing and preached another thing. We all do. It's just a human thing, because none of us walking this planet are perfect. And that is because we change. We're constantly growing and evolving, and life is shaping us and molding us. Experiences, relationships, people that we come across, books that we read, information that we're exposed to is constantly molding and shaping us. So we are evolving and we're changing and we're growing. And because of that, you're going to go through cycles. So you may go through cycles of time where you're really in love with this person that you're involved with. And then you'll go through cycles where you just can't stand each other. And that is the honest to God's truth. Even people who have siblings, if you have a brother or sister close in age that you grew up with, you can relate to what I'm saying. There's times where you love your sister, you love your brother, you know, you will cut for them, you will go to the ends of earth for them. And there are times where you just want to wring their neck and you just cannot stand them. You just don't want to hear a word they have to say. Like, their voice will just drive you off the edge. And that's because we go through cycles and we go through waves of falling in love and falling out of love. And this is especially true in intimate relationships. So don't feel like, okay, what's wrong with us or what's happening? I want to just throw this relationship away because you're going through a cycle of a down season or a valley season. Your seasons are not going to always be peaks. It's going to be peaks and it's going to be valleys. And so as long as you respect that, you should be okay. But if you're valley season is occurring more than your peak season, then you have an issue. And a lot of times what I say is, if you're having an issue with somebody, whether it's in a love relationship, a working relationship, a friendship, any type of ship, right? Anything dealing with personalities, take a notebook, open that notebook. On one side, write down all the pros, and on the other side, write down all the cons. If that list of cons, the things that you dislike about this person in this relationship, the shit that just irks you, gets under your skin and pisses you off, if that list is longer than your list of pros, the wonderful things that you love about this person, then it may be time to consider looking at the front door, or as I would say, putting on your walking shoes, because life is too short to be unhappy and discontent all the time. Life is too short. And you look up and you don't want to have given your best years, your most fruitful years, away to someone involved in a dead-end relationship that really isn't going anywhere, or struggling and fighting and striving with someone who is not trying to grow in the way that you're trying to grow, or vice versa. And it's okay if two people grow apart. You can still be friends, but it's better sometimes to be friends and cut your ties when you understand that you've grown apart. Real soulmates will test you. Real soulmates will stretch you. Real, authentic, genuine soulmates will grow you. That's an essential part, and for me, a definitive trait of a soulmate is that they will test you, stretch you, and grow you. Or you will test them, stretch them, and grow them. But if you're in a relationship with someone and you're not growing together, you're not doing bigger and better things and wanting more out of life and wanting to accomplish and just be more and be a larger spirit, you may want to just really, check in with yourself and ask yourself, is this what I want out of life? Is this what you want out of life? I think I touched on it briefly in volume 1, talking about infidelity and temptation. And there are dangers associated with, just having carte blanche sex with this one and that one. And again, this is a no judgment zone. I'm not here to judge anyone. I believe that we're all on our own individual journeys, and my journey is not going to look like your journey, and your journey shouldn't look like your mother or your father's journey or the next man's journey. We're all on individual paths. But you have to understand that there are dangers of having just a string of endless sexual partners with no real end game in sight. And so for the people who are on that tip, I would say, what is the real end game for you? What is the real end game for you? What's the ultimate goal in that? What are you getting out of that? And I know, different people have different sexual appetites. Let's talk about it for a second. Let's talk about sex. Let's really get down to the nuts and bolts of it. But you have to ask yourself, is that what you really want? When you're having a string of endless sexual encounters and one night stands, or you meet someone, you hit it off, you get it in, you're having sex, and next thing you know, it's not working out. You stop talking to them, you meet somebody else, you do it all over again. You meet somebody else, you think this might be the one, you're having sex, you're getting it in, it doesn't work out. So you look up and, 10 or 15 years may have passed, and you've just been having these endless string of, what do they call it? No strings attached sex. sex with different partners and you don't have anything substantial to show for it. You don't have their, and again, I understand everyone doesn't necessarily want to be married. That may not be your end game. That may not be your end goal. But who's really being played in this situation? I can recall a time when I was younger. I was about 17 or 18, and I was involved at the time with the man who would become my husband and the father of my son. And at the time, we were really going hot and heavy, and we moved in together. Now understand, I come from a very religious family, and they were not with it. My mother was okay with it, but her thing was, as long as you take care of business and do what you need to do and be smart about things. In other words, wrap it up, protect yourself, keep your nose clean, that type of thing. Because, let's just be real. Parents, kids are going to do what they're going to do. So you can preach until you're blue in the face. If they want to fuck, they're going to be fucking. Okay? You just got to hope you do the best you can, because people are going to do what they want to do. Especially once you get them out of your house and they're off to college or whatnot. But my grandmother, it was my grandmother who said, I can recall one day, and rest in peace to my grandma, but I can recall it was like family Thanksgiving dinner, and we were all just sitting out, and she goes, so how long are you gonna just play this game, is what she said. It was, how long are you gonna just be somebody's sperm receptacle? And I'm just like, what? She's saying this in front of everybody, and I was humiliated. But I was so young and dumb at the time that I had fooled myself into believing that I'm okay with just what the older folks, the elders call it, shacking up. They say you shouldn't be shacking up. You shouldn't move in or U-Haul with someone until you have a ring on your finger, you're engaged or you're married, and you really shouldn't even be, having sex until you know that it's something serious and that's the end game, is marriage. Well, for me, I wanted to just be a career woman. I wanted to graduate from college and be successful, and I was ambitious, and that is still who I am. But in terms of a relationship, I hadn't given it much thought. And so I say this to you, I share that with you, ladies and gentlemen, especially those who are in your early 20s. I say that to say, what is the end game? Is this what you really want? Take a look at your life. Look at your partners, especially your sexual partner or partners, and ask yourself, are you happy with this? Do you feel anything deeper than the lust of that intimacy that you share with this person or these people? And are you happy with that? And if you are not getting anything out of it, if you don't have anything to show for it, meaning you haven't been shown to the family, ladies, if you are seeing a guy and you've been having sex, and the only time you really are seeing him is behind closed doors between the hours of like 9 p.m. and 4 a.m., who's really being played? You really have to ask yourself this. Are you happy with that? Now, if you're happy with that, cool. Ladies, if you're seeing someone, or guys too, you can get played too. But if you're seeing someone and it's been months and months and months and holidays, and you've never been introduced to the family, they've never taken you around their parents or their really close friends, you have to ask yourself, who's really being played? Who's fooling who? Who's zooming who? Right? Because when someone is really for you, and when someone really is about you, and they really love you and are in love with you, they want they want the world to know it. They're going to take you to meet their family. They're going to take you to meet their mother, their father. They're going to take you around their closest friends, their best friends. You guys are going to do things together. You're going to travel together. You are going to see it on their social media to an extent. Not saying you have to do those things, but that's what most people do. So if you're seeing someone and it's been months and months and months and you're just basically a sperm receptacle, or they just call you when they want some oral sex, or if the bulk of your time together, the bulk of your intimacy is in hotel rooms or in the back seat, you have to ask yourself, who's zooming who? Who's fooling who? Who's playing who? So again, it's no judgment. I don't believe in calling a woman a hoe or a slut or whatever. You know, you call it what you want to, but are you happy? And I would venture to say most people want more for themselves, because you're worth more than that. And if someone doesn't value you enough to introduce you to their family and their mother and their father and their closest buddies, or for some, take you to church or whatever, take you to the bar mitzvah or whatnot, the family gatherings and get-togethers and cookouts and things like that, you have some tough choices you have to make. If you're only good enough for sex, but you're not good enough for a ring, or you're good enough for sex, but you're not good enough for planning a future together or building something more, you have some tough decisions to make. Soulmate Science, Volume 2. We're talking about it today. I believe that you'll have multiple soulmates. You'll have multiple soulmates in this life. You won't just have one. And I say that to say sometimes your soulmate connections and your soul ties are not always sexual. Sometimes you'll meet someone who just understands you. They relate to you. They get you. You can finish each other's sentences, and they lift you higher and higher. They make you feel on top of the world. But it doesn't always have to be sexual. You can have a soulmate that's the same sex. Guys, don't feel some kind of way if you just have a buddy who that's your boy. Like, you guys have just been tight for years and years and years, and no matter what, they just seem to always have your back. That could be a soul tie. Also, and I know this is controversial, but you can be in love with two people at the same time. Because a lot of times we want love to be like, we want to personify love. And love is not a human being. Love is not a person. Love does not fit neatly into our little neat Judeo-Christian boxes. You can't just check off love on a box on an application. This is where it is and it fits neatly in this little paradigm. No. On the contrary, love, you can be involved with someone, in love with that person, intimate with that person, and also form a strong soul tie with someone else. And I'm not saying, and please understand, I'm not contradicting myself from what I mentioned in Volume 1, and I'm not saying that either way is right or wrong. But what I'm saying is, you can be in love with two souls at the same time. And so I've heard, I have friends who say, well, no, there's no way, how is he in love with me and in love with her too? Because guess what? Your relationship with person A has nothing to do with your relationship with person B. And what you and person B have going has person A has no bearing or business in that union, in that relationship. So I mean, it's not up for debate, if you ask me, because different people bring out different emotions in you. Different people bring out different feelings and different ideas and concepts and things. Just like you know, you can take multiple classes at one time. We're not one-dimensional, people. We are multi-dimensional beings having a human experience. And so we try to fit into these politically correct boxes when love is so much bigger than a box. So you have to come out of the box and stop thinking outside of the box. That's why, and I love this about the younger generation, you know, you have all of these different type of polyamorous situations where people have an understanding that we can be in a relationship and you can date someone else and I can date someone else. And as long as we're honest with each other and we're safe and we're smart and we communicate and there's an open line of communication, if that works for you, wonderful. No judgment. Because those individuals in those types of situations, I would venture to say, understand that love is abstract. It's not this one-dimensional, you know, concept. It's bigger than that. So yes, you will have multiple soulmates. Who your soulmate is when you're 21 may not be who your soulmate is when you're 60. Because you're not the same person at 21 that you will be at 60 or are at 60. You're not even the same person you were 10 years ago. Let alone, you know, what you'll be 30 or 40 or 50 years from now. And I say for the people who are polyamorous and polygamous, again, this is a no judgment zone. I don't care what you're into. As long as you don't harm children, as long as you don't bring animals into the equation, as long as you're not doing something that is causing somebody like physical pain and they're doing something against their will. Hey, what two consenting adults do behind closed doors is really their business. But you know, just have to ask yourself, would a polyamorous situation benefit you? Could that benefit you? Could a polygamous type of relationship, could that help you? And somebody, I was talking to someone once upon a time, we were having a conversation about how some of the ancestors were, you know, polygamous, how there were men who were allowed to have multiple wives, and they still do in a lot of different countries. And here in the States, there are a lot of polygamous people, although it's technically illegal, but people are doing it, okay? And it was a group of us, it was men and women, and you know, we got to talking about it, and it was like, you know, that may not necessarily be a bad thing, because if you have a family, ladies, let's say you have 3 or 4 kids, and it's you and your husband and your 3 or 4 kids, and let's say you all bring another woman into the equation, and let's say, just hypothetically speaking, she does not have any children. And now you have that additional help. You have that additional financial help. Let's say you all work full time, you're bringing in income, or you have your small businesses or large businesses, your entrepreneurs or what have you. And now all 3 of you are bringing money into the home. And now you have that additional help with your children. And let's say you bring in another woman, and now it's, you know, 2 or 3 women, and now you all can help each other in raising that child. You truly have that village situation going on, helping to raise the children, and then you have all the finances coming into one household. And how beneficial that could be for some people, instead of you as a single mother struggling by yourself with your 3 or 4 children. And, you know, I say that to say, just have an open mind about things, because for so many years, you know, that was a reality for a lot of different people. And it still is. And that's working for them, and they're not struggling. But I think that you would have to understand that there's no place or space for jealousy or possessiveness in that equation. And I don't think that that's necessarily for everyone. I don't believe that model is for everyone, but it could be beneficial. Preferences. Soulmate science. Preferences. A preference isn't a prejudice, people. A preference is not a prejudice. You like what you like for a reason. We like what we like, right? We like what we like. So don't knock something until you've tried it. I.e., dating someone outside of your nationality or your race. Dating someone who may be substantially older than you or substantially younger than you. And I'm not talking about pedophilia or anything crazy like that. But I'm saying, if you're 30 years old or you're 25 years old, you can't knock what that experience might be if you dated someone who was, say, 45. You actually might enjoy it. You actually might find that it's a beautiful thing for you and a satisfying thing for you. Or, you know, I hear so many people saying, oh, you know, it's not a lot of good men or what have you, but you haven't seen what all is out there. You know, and if you say, well, I'm an American, I would never date a Jamaican, or I'm Irish, I would never date a person from Costa Rica. Well, I feel like you are keeping yourself in a box. You may be cheating yourself. So I think now, if you're into what you're into, that's what you're into. You know, if a guy likes women with long hair and he doesn't give the time of the day to the woman with the short hair, it doesn't mean anything is wrong with the woman with the short hair. It just means that's not his preference. And I think we judge people and knock people, and, you know, because of their preferences. And we just all have our preferences. But speaking on soulmates, you never know what package your soulmate will arrive in. And that's the point I was getting at. The point I'm getting at is, if you say, well, I will only date men who look like this and are of this stature. I will only date men who are so tall or have this amount of money. Or I will only date women who, you know, if you're the type of person who's saying, I'll only date a woman if she looks like this or sounds like that or wears this type of adornment or clothing, you don't know what package your soulmate is going to come in, because just because someone just because they may look like your type does not mean they're always for you. Does not always mean that they are the best person for you. So if you're open and go by how you feel, how this person makes you feel, or how they uplift your life, I think that would be a better gauge to judge from. In terms of soulmates, you'll know you found a soulmate when it feels like you're home when you're together. When you're together and it feels like you're home, you feel safe, you feel secure, you feel like there's nothing you can't accomplish. You feel like this person makes it all better. That's a soulmate. That's a soulmate. Again, not all soulmates will be romantic. So you can have that connection with someone who you meet through social media. It may be a long time Facebook friend and you guys end up connecting and hanging out together and having drinks or eating out together, and the next thing you know, you're spending quite a lot of time together, and you look up and 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years pass, and you're like, wow, I remember when we were friends on Facebook or what have you. But my point is, you'll know because it'll feel a certain kind of way. The stars will align in such a way, and that's how you will know this is my soulmate. These people, these souls, these connections last the longest. A soulmate is a connection. It's a being, a soul, a relationship you have with someone that it will last forever. Now, if it's a flash in the pan, you meet this person and you get intimate and you feel all googly and bubbly inside and nervous, and then in 6 months you guys hardly ever talk anymore, that's not a soulmate. That was lust. Soulmates are situations and relationships that last lifetimes. It's bigger than us. It's deeper than us. It's deeper than our little intellect, our fallible, feeble human mind. We think that all there is what we see, and there's a whole spectrum of light and entities in the unseen. And so love is one of those things, you can't touch it. You can't touch love. You can't hold it. You can't smell it. You can't inhale it, but you know it when you feel it. And love is something that is abstract, but it's something that can revolutionize your life. So what do you do when love hurts? What do you do when love hurts? I would say run. I would say that love shouldn't hurt. There are so many things in life designed to hurt. Love shouldn't be one of them. Having to pay bills, that hurts. Love shouldn't hurt. Having to pay taxes and, waiting on the results of a test, those things are, anxiety ridden and painful. Love shouldn't hurt. Love shouldn't be painful. If you find that you're in a situation where you're crying and you're heartbroken and your heart hurts more than you're laughing and making love and feeling on top of the world, that's not the one for you. Now, there's a Buddhist saying. The Buddhists say, if you meet somebody and your heart pounds, your hands shake, and your knees go weak, that's not the one. When you meet your soulmate, you'll feel calm, no anxiety, no agitation. That's what the Buddhists say. Now, I can be wrong, but that's what that's a Buddhist saying. And I agree. When it's the one, you'll know it. You'll know it by how good it feels, and you'll know because they won't do things to bring tears to your eyes and pain and anxiety. And that's not to say that it'll be perfect, but it won't hurt. I believe that genuine, authentic soulmate connections and soul ties always come back. What does that mean? That means that if you feel you experienced someone who they may have been your soulmate, and you were involved for an amount of time and then it didn't work out for whatever reason, they moved on or you moved on, life happened, and then you find yourself without them. You find your life void of them. If that was a genuine soulmate, I believe that they'll find their way back in your life. They always come back. Soulmates always come back. I know people who were married, got a divorce, dated other people, may have even got into other marriages. That shit didn't work, and then they ended up back together happily ever after. Now, I'm not saying, once they come back, you'll just ride off into the sunset together and it'll be perfect bliss and never a bad day. Yeah, you're still going to have days, because again, a soulmate is going to stretch you, and it hurts to stretch, to grow. There's going to be growing pains associated with that, because you're going to grow together. But that is to say that soulmates always come back. They always come back. If you were the one that got away, you'll look up and you'll go through these other relationships trying to make it work with this one and that one, and you'll always find yourself thinking back to the person that you, for whatever reason, walked away from. And I'm telling you what I know. If you talk to some older people, talk to the elders, they'll tell you oftentimes, I never thought this was going to be the one. I never imagined we'd end up together. I never imagined, I'd end up with him or her or whatever. They'll tell you that sometimes. Now, a lot of them will be like, yeah, we knew, I knew it was the one. We've been dating since we were in high school, But you don't really hear those stories as much anymore. I think also, the competition is heavy, and so you're having to compete with the world. In the past, all you had to compete against was the people on your block or the people in your neighborhood, the people who frequented the same nightclubs or frequented the same bars. But now you have the internet, you have Match.com and eHarmony and Christian Mingle and Tinder and all these different Craigslist ads and Backpage ads, right? But the point is, the world is your competition, because now people are dating across continents. People are meeting people in different countries and forming relationships and coming together and building something and realizing, oh, my soulmate is in France, or my soulmate is in Zimbabwe, or my soulmate is in Panama. You never know. And so, and speaking of which, long distance relationships, do they work? Can they work? I would say long distance relationships can work, but they rarely last. And they rarely last because when you're having a long distance relationship with someone, it's based off of the best, seeing that person or showing that other person your best light. You're seeing this person, and for instance, when you're in a long distance relationship, the bulk of your communications are through what? Skype, you're Skyping, you're on the phone, you're texting each other, you are sending emails to one another, right? You're communicating through social media. You're getting pictures of people. You're getting pictures of them, and most people they post their best pictures. You're FaceTiming, and that's when you're seeing each other how you want to be seen. So, but when you live with someone, when you actually live with this person, now you're smelling their morning breath. You're having to deal with their bullshit. You're dealing with their bad days. They're dealing with your bad days. And you may have to deal with the ex-boyfriend or the ex-girlfriend who keeps sending them nudes, And so you're having to deal with all of this now. And especially if you move in together, now it's like you have bills together. You're having to deal with sharing the bathroom and sharing the remote, and you want to watch Lifetime movies and they want to watch Sports Center, and now you getting on my fucking nerves because I want to watch Lifetime and you want to watch ESPN, but we both want to watch the big TV. And so that can cause little, gripes and things, where it's like, he keeps leaving the seat up. Why can't he just put down the damn seat? Because I keep falling in the toilet at night. These are the types of things that real life, when you're dealing with somebody on a day-to-day basis, that can cause issues. But when you're long distance, you're just seeing each other maybe every other weekend or maybe every couple of weeks. And when you do see each other, it's all love, and the love is good, and the sex is good, and you're making love, and it's lovey-dovey, and it's rose petals, and it's, all of that good stuff. And then you don't ever see the bad stuff. But the bad stuff is subdued, is held back. And so I just say, be wary with the long distance relationship. You can't help how you feel. We can't help who we fall in love with. But ultimately, I don't think that long distance relationships last unless one person is willing to relocate. And it might be you. So if you're not ready, willing, and able to relocate, to pack up, to move to another city or another state, then long distance, it can only have but so long of a shelf life, right? So again, this is a no judgment zone. You can do what you feel you want to do, or what's right for you. What's good for you may be great for you, but it may be terrible for me. But I don't think that that's something that you can build something substantial on. Again, there's exceptions to every rule, but Soulmate Science. Sometimes the one or the ones you're attracted to will be the one you can't have. What do you do when you want what you cannot have? And that's a big one. That's a huge one. A lot of guys want the unobtainable. They want who everyone else wants but can't have. A lot of women are attracted to the one who they cannot have. They can't have them because they're involved in another relationship already. They're married. Or they live the type of lifestyle where they're just emotionally and physically unavailable because they're always working, or they're always busy, or they're in the military, or what have you. Just different situations. And I think oftentimes it's the forbidden fruit that's the sweetest. And that's why we get caught up creeping, and we get caught up in infidelity, because oftentimes what's attractive is what we can't have, and it's attractive because we can't have it. And you have to be careful with that, because once you have it, the fantasy is gone. And so you just have to be careful of people who, let's say someone puts you on a pedestal because you're let's say you're the unobtainable one. You're the one who is in a relationship or married, and someone is trying to get at you. They're in your DMs, right? Because they say it goes down in the DM. But if you're the one who's unobtainable and you are considering leaving your sure thing for this person who is whispering all these sweet nothings in your ear, you have to be careful, because once they've obtained you, now you're no longer unobtainable, and it's really easy for you to fall from grace. A lot of times in relationships where two people are creeping, let's say both of you are married, and one of the people gets a divorce, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to work on my divorce so we can now be together. A lot of times, once you're both out of your relationships, that infidelity, that unfaithful relationship that you formed, that too will fall apart, because it was built and based on false premises. And you fed it with lies. You were lying to your husband or wife, and he or she, you know, they were lying to their significant other, and now you don't have a significant other. This person who you were creeping with is now your significant other. A lot of times that will fall apart because you fed it with lies, and it was based and built on a lie. And anything based and built on a lie ultimately will fall. It's going to come crashing down like a house of cards. And I know this is just what I know. I've seen it so much. So you have to be careful with that, because lust is a fleeting emotion. Lust can't sustain you. Only love can sustain you. Lust is like an empty calorie. It tastes good, it feels good, but it cannot sustain you. It has nothing behind it. And once that fleeting feeling is gone, you're left with a broken heart. So be careful of the forbidden fruit. There's a reason why it's the forbidden fruit. Don't play around. Don't put fire to your chest and not expect to get burned. What you're attracted to in your early 20s won't necessarily be what you're attracted to in your mid 30s or your early 40s. Because with age comes wisdom, and with age and with wisdom, you know, your tastes may change. And it's so funny because, you know, especially as women, sometimes the highlight is our heyday. The highlight of our journey is our heyday when we're 17 and 18, and, you know, we look our best, our skin is glowing, and we don't have a whole lot of stress and anxiety and responsibilities associated with life. And so you just have to be careful who you spend that time with, because you're not going to ever get that glow back. You know, you're fighting weight. That's your heyday. That's the highlight, right? And so you just want to be careful, because it's never going to be that good. You're never going to be 21 again. You're never going to be 25 again. You know, and so as you get older, your tastes start to change, and because what's coming at you, that changes sometimes too. So Soulmate Science, Volume 2. I hope that this has been beneficial for someone. I get a lot of people asking me about relationships and things and what to do. And I hope that this episode has been of some assistance. Soulmate Science Volume 1 is on YouTube. So if you missed out on that one, you can go back and listen to it. You all be well. Peace.